Welcome to a Prevent Connect podcast, where we explore the prevention of violence against women. This is a project of the California Coalition Against Sexual Assault.
Hello, this is Ashley Klein-Jimenez from Prevent Connect, and I'm here today with Lucy Rios, Director of Prevention and Communications at the Rhode Island Coalition Against Domestic Violence, and Kate Porter, Communications Manager, also at the Rhode Island Coalition Against Domestic Violence. We're going to talk about a new primary prevention resource that they have put together called Our Future Depends on Preventing Domestic Violence. Learn what domestic violence prevention looks like and how you can help. Lucy and Kate, thanks so much for taking time to discuss this great resource and share it with the Prevent Connect audience. How are you both today?
We're great. Thanks for having us.
Yep, we're doing well. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Well, thanks again for being here. And I'd really love to just start off by having you tell us about the resource and where the inspiration to create it came from.
Yeah, I'm happy to start. So a couple of years ago, we started trying to pass legislation in our state to be able to get funding to support our primary prevention efforts. And so we had introduced what's called the Domestic Violence Prevention Bill. Our policy staff were having difficulty communicating the importance of prevention to our senators and representatives. Because of those challenges, we decided, you know what, we really need a tool that's going to help us talk about prevention in a way where you don't have to be well-versed in the prevention science, but understand it enough to be able to talk to your representative about why it's important for the state of Rhode Island to prioritize primary prevention. And that's where this idea came from, of creating a tool that would be accessible to the community, that would help us advocate for the need for prevention funding in our state.
You know, when I first looked at the resource, what I loved so much was that, to me, it really reads like a story. You know, not only does it tell the importance and the need for primary prevention, but it also does a really great job at educating people about what primary prevention looks like. So I was wondering, can you tell us a little bit about what was the process like in deciding how to tell this story?
So the first thing I did was sit down and ask questions. So what would I want to know about it? I'd want to know what the problem is. So what is domestic violence? How are people affected by domestic violence? How do we help end domestic violence? And then that's sort of the process where I was able to organize the information that already existed into answering those questions. Our primary audience was legislators because we wanted them to be able to pass legislation that made really effective change. And then we also wanted to talk to people who do the work, who are in primary prevention work, or who are just advocates who maybe don't thoroughly understand all of the aspects of prevention. And then my third audience was my mom. For me, she represented all of the other people who really don't understand anything about prevention other than education and going into schools and talking to children.
We wanted to change that picture. We wanted people to understand that there were ways where they could be involved in prevention efforts in their own community. And we also wanted to highlight some of the work that was already being done. So if you look at some of the images, they are examples of some of the work that is happening here.
That's really cool that the examples that you're using to talk about primary prevention are actually things that are happening in Rhode Island at the state level and at the community level with your prevention efforts. I also wanted to say that I just love how this really elevates prevention beyond school-based efforts and tells the story of prevention in a way where people do kind of see where they can fit into primary prevention and that it becomes everyone's responsibility. So I'm wondering if you all have received any feedback on how, this is being used, or how do you hope it will be used?
We have received a lot of positive feedback from our peers and other state coalitions. Some of them requested additional copies so that they can get it to all of their member programs. Last year, we signed the Domestic Violence Prevention Fund into law, and so as a result, we were able to award 5 projects to be doing primary prevention work in their community. So we used the tool to help them understand what kinds of community building activities we were looking for. And then another way that it's been used is through the Commission for Health, Advocacy, and Equity are using it as a model for the report that they're producing at the end of this session. So I thought that was really exciting, where other state-level entities are using this publication as a way to kind of learn ways to show the community and not just numbers and data and these long reports, but a just concise way to tell the story that they want to tell.
I also think that part of the publication is to help people on an individual level. So anybody who picks up this publication should be able to read it and learn something from it and sort of feel hopeful that they can be part of the solution to ending domestic violence, and it doesn't have to be in a big way. It can be little things that they do every day.
That's great. Well, and I think that you've both mentioned a couple times that the visual aspect is also something that I think will draw people to this tool. You see it and you want to read it. There's just something about it that's very inviting, and I think the pictures and knowing that these are examples of things that are actually happening in Rhode Island is really exciting. It's very user-friendly. It really catches folks' attention. And it's great to hear that the tool has led to a lot of successes in Rhode Island to move prevention forward. That's really, really exciting. We're just so glad for the contribution, and thank you both for the work that you're doing.
Well, thank you very much for having us on and for sharing it. That's great. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to this Prevent Connect podcast. Prevent Connect is a project of the California Coalition Against Sexual Assault, with funding from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. The views presented on Prevent Connect are not necessarily the views of the United States government, the CDC, or CalCASA. To learn more about Prevent Connect, visit www.preventconnect.org. For more information about CalCASA's mission, or to show your support, visit calcasa.org. That's CalCasa.org.